My dear friends, I want you to clear your mind of all preconceptions. Forget everything you think you know about how the world works, about cause and effect, about struggle and achievement. For the next hour or so, I invite you to open yourself to a new understanding, a new way of being in the world that is as effortless as it is powerful. The world you see around you, the circumstances of your life, the very fabric of your reality, all of this is nothing more than an outward projection of your inner state of consciousness. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your assumptions about yourself and the world. These are the true creators of your experience. Now, many of you may have heard this before. You may even intellectually accept it as true. But tonight, I want you to go beyond mere intellectual understanding. I want you to feel this truth in the very marrow of your bones. For it is only when you truly internalize this principle that you can begin to grasp the immense power that lies dormant within you. Consider for a moment the natural world around us. Does a seed struggle to become a tree? Does it strain and push against the soil, forcing itself to grow? Of course not. The seed simply is, and in being it becomes. It contains within itself the perfect pattern of its full expression. And given the right conditions, it naturally and effortlessly grows into that expression. You, my dear friends, are no different. You too contain within you the seed of your desires, the perfect pattern of your ideal life. And just like the seed, you do not need to force your desires into being. You need only to provide the right conditions for their natural unfoldment. But what are these conditions, you may ask? They are nothing more, nothing less than your state of consciousness. Your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs. These are the soil in which the seeds of your desires take root and grow. Now let us delve deeper into what it means to force things in your life. When you force, you're operating from a place of lack, of desperation. You're saying to the universe, I do not have what I want, and I must struggle and strive to get it. But in doing so, you are affirming the very lack you seek to overcome. Think about it. If you truly believe that you already possess what you desire, would you need to force it? Of course not. You would simply relax into the knowing that it is already yours. This, my friends, is the great secret, the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the absolute conviction that what you desire is already yours. This is the key that unlocks the door to your desires. But how? You may wonder, can we cultivate this feeling of the wish fulfilled? How can we convince ourselves of something that does not yet appear to be true in our outer world? The answer lies in the power of your imagination. Your imagination, dear ones, is not some frivolous faculty for daydreaming. It is the very workshop in which your reality is forged. What you imagine with feeling, with conviction, becomes the blueprint that your outer world must inevitably conform to. So instead of forcing, instead of struggling and striving, I urge you to use your imagination. Create a scene in your mind that implies the fulfillment of your desire. Make it as vivid and as real as you possibly can. Engage all your senses. Feel the joy, the satisfaction, the gratitude that would be yours if your desire were already fulfilled. Here's the crucial part. You must persist in this imaginal act. You must return to it again and again, not with effort or strain, but with the calm assurance that what you're imagining is, in fact, your reality. Now, some of you may be thinking, but Neville, surely we must take action in the world to achieve our goals. And to this I say yes, action is indeed necessary. But it is inspired action, effortless action, action that flows naturally from your changed state of consciousness. When you have truly assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you will find that the right actions present themselves to you. Opportunities will appear as if by magic. The people and circumstances necessary for the realization of your desire will be drawn to you by an invisible force. This, my friends, is the law in operation. It is not something external to you, not some capricious force that must be appeased or manipulated. It is simply the way consciousness expresses itself in the world of thought. Let me give you an example to illustrate this principle. Imagine a young man who desires to be wealthy. If he operates from a consciousness of lack, he might force himself to work long hours. to scrimp and save every penny to pursue get-rich-quick schemes. He might even achieve a measure of financial success through these methods. But at what cost? His life becomes a constant struggle, a never-ending battle against scarcity. But suppose this same young man were to change his consciousness. Suppose he were to assume the feeling of being wealthy. He would imagine himself living in abundance, enjoying financial freedom, sharing his wealth generously. He would persist in this assumption until it became a conviction, a knowing. What would happen then? He might be inspired to start a business that aligns perfectly with his talents and passions. He might encounter a mentor who guides him to lucrative opportunities. He might even receive an unexpected inheritance or windfall. The specifics don't matter. What matters is that his outer world would inevitably conform to his inner conviction of wealth. All of this would unfold naturally, effortlessly. There would be no need for force, no need for struggle. The young man would simply follow the path that naturally opens up before him, guided by his inner knowing of abundance. This, my dear friends, is what I mean when I say don't force anything. It's not about passivity or inaction. It's about aligning yourself with the natural flow of life, with the law that governs all things. Now, I can hear some of you thinking, but Neville, what about the challenges and obstacles we face in life? Surely we must overcome these through effort and struggle. You call challenges and obstacles are nothing more than the outpicturing of your own limiting beliefs and assumptions. When you force against these apparent obstacles, you are in fact reinforcing the very consciousness that created them. You are saying to the universe, yes, this is real, this is solid, this is something I must fight against. And in doing so, you give it even more power over you. But what if, instead of forcing against these obstacles, you were to simply assume that they do not exist? What if you were to live from the assumption that the path to your desire is clear and open? You would find, much to your amazement, that the obstacles dissolve of their own accord, or that solutions present themselves with ease and grace. Remember, my friends, the outer world is nothing more than a shadow, a reflection of your inner state. Change the inner, and the outer must follow. Now let's consider another aspect of this principle of not forcing. Many of you, in your quest for spiritual growth and understanding, may have encountered teachings that emphasize discipline, effort, and control. You may have been told that you must force yourself to think positive thoughts, that you must struggle against negative emotions, that you must exert iron control over your mind. But I say to you, this too is a form of forcing, and it is ultimately counterproductive. For in attempting to control your thoughts and emotions through sheer willpower, you are implicitly affirming their power over you. You are saying these thoughts, these emotions are real and powerful. Instead, I urge you to simply observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment, without resistance. See them for what they are, temporary states of consciousness that have no power other than that which you give them. And then gently but firmly, turn your attention to the state you wish to embody. This is not forcing, but allowing. Is not struggle, but surrender to your true self, to the God within you that is the source of all creation. Let me share with you a personal experience that illustrates this principle. Many years ago, when I first began to explore these truths, I found myself in dire financial straits. Bills were piling up, creditors were calling, and I could see no way out of my predicament. My first instinct was to force a solution. I worked longer hours, I scrimped and saved, I worried and fretted, but the more I forced, the worse my situation became. It was as if the universe was conspiring against me, closing every door I tried to push open. Then, in a moment of quiet desperation, I remembered the truth I had been studying. I realized that my outer circumstances were merely a reflection of my inner state of lack and limitation. And in that moment, I made a decision to change my inner. Instead of focusing on my apparent lack, I began to imagine myself as financially secure. I created a scene in my imagination where I was paying my bills with ease, where money flowed to me abundantly, where I lived in a state of joyful prosperity. At first, it felt like pretending, but I persisted, Night after night, I would fall asleep in this imaginal scene. I would carry the feeling of financial abundance with me throughout my day. I refused to be moved by the apparent facts of my outer world. And then, my friends, the miracle occurred. Within a matter of weeks, my financial situation began to change. A business opportunity presented itself that I would never have noticed in my previous state of consciousness. Money began to flow from unexpected sources. Before I knew it, all my debts were paid, and I was living in the very state of prosperity I had imagined. None of this required force or struggle on my part. Once I had changed my inner state, the outer circumstances of my life rearranged themselves naturally, effortlessly, to match that state. All I had to do was to follow the promptings of my intuition, to take the inspired actions that naturally arose from my new state of consciousness. This, my dear friends, is the power that lies within each and every one of you. You do not need to force your good into being. You need only to assume the feeling of already being, doing, or having that which you desire. The rest will follow as naturally as day follows night. Now, I can sense that some of you may be struggling with this concept. You may be thinking, but Neville, I've tried to imagine my desires as fulfilled, and nothing has changed. Am I doing something wrong? Be patient with yourself. Remember, you are undoing a lifetime of habitual thinking and feeling. You are challenging deeply ingrained beliefs about the nature of reality itself. This is no small task, and it may take time and persistence. But do not mistake persistence for force. Persistence is simply the consistent application of a principle. It is returning again and again to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not with strain or effort, but with calm assurance. Think of it this way. When you plant a seed in the ground, you dig it up every day to see if it's growing. Of course not. You trust in the natural process of growth. You provide the right conditions, water, sunlight, fertile soil, and then you allow the seed to do what it naturally does. Your desires are like seeds planted in the fertile soil of your consciousness. Provide the right conditions, the feeling of fulfillment, the assumption of already being what you wish to be, and then allow the natural process of manifestation to unfold. This allowing, this trust in the law, is the very opposite of forcing. It is a state of relaxed awareness, of knowing that what is yours must inevitably come to you. Now, let us address another common misconception. Some of you may be thinking, but Neville, if I don't force things, if I don't strive and struggle, won't I become lazy and unproductive? My dear friends, nothing could be further from the truth. When you align yourself with the law, when you live from the state of the wish fulfilled, you will find yourself more energized, more inspired, more productive than ever before. But it will be a different kind of productivity. It will not be the frantic activity of someone driven by fear and lack. It will be the joyful, purposeful activity of someone who knows their own power, who trusts in the perfect unfoldment of their good. You see, when you force, you are operating from your limited egoic self. You are trying to make things happen through sheer willpower. But when you allow, when you trust in the law, you are aligning yourself with the infinite power of your true self, of the God within you. And this power, my friends, is limitless. It knows no bounds. It can accomplish in a moment what might take years of forced effort. But it operates according to spiritual principles, not material ones. It responds not to your actions, but to your state of consciousness. So I urge you, let go of the need to force. Let go of the belief that struggle and strain are necessary for achievement. Instead, cultivate the art of allowing. Learn to live in the state of the wish fulfilled, no matter what your outer circumstances may be telling you. This is not always easy, I know. The world around you may seem to contradict your inner knowing at every turn. But remember, the outer world is only a shadow. It is your inner world that is the reality, the causative force. Stand firm in your assumption. No matter what the evidence of your senses may tell you, no matter what others may say, hold fast to the truth of your imaginal act. For it is this, and this alone, that has the power to reshape your world. Now, let me address a question that often arises when I speak of these principles. Some of you may be wondering, but Neville, what about the suffering in the world? What about injustice and inequality? Surely we must take action to change these things. We must take action. But it must be inspired action, action that springs from a changed consciousness. For if we act from the same consciousness that created these conditions, we will only perpetuate them, no matter how noble our intentions. If you wish to change the world, my friends, you must first change yourself. You must first embody the change you wish to see. For the outer world is nothing more than a reflection of the inner states of the collective consciousness. Imagine a world where every individual understood and applied these principles. Imagine a world where each person lived from the state of their wish fulfilled, where no one felt the need to force or struggle or compete. Can you see how radically different such a world would be? This, my dear friends, is the great work to which we are all called. It is not a work of outer reform, but of inner transformation. It is not a work of force, but of allowing the divine pattern within each of us to unfold naturally and perfectly. And make no mistake, this work begins with you. Right here, right now. In this very moment, you have the power to change your world by changing your consciousness. You have the power to let go of force and embrace the art of allowing. So I challenge you, my friends. For the next week, commit to living from the state of your wish fulfilled. Choose one desire, one change you wish to see in your life. Create a scene that implies the fulfillment of this desire. Make it as vivid and as real as you can. Then every night before you sleep, enter into this scene. Feel it, live it, make it so real that when you open your eyes, you're almost surprised to find yourself back in your present circumstances. But don't stop there. Carry the feeling of fulfillment with you throughout your day. No matter what your outer world shows you, hold fast to your inner knowing. Don't force, don't struggle, simply allow. And watch, my friends, watch how your world begins to change. Watch how doors open that you never knew existed. Watch how the very circumstances of your life rearrange themselves to match your new state of consciousness. This is the law in action. This is the power that has been given to you, that lies dormant within you, waiting to be awakened. Remember, you are not some helpless victim of circumstance. You are not at the mercy of external forces. You are the operant power in your world. You are the God of your universe, creating your reality with every thought, every feeling, every assumption. So choose wisely, my friends. Choose to live from the end. Choose to embody the state of your wish fulfilled. Choose to trust in the law, to allow your good to flow to you naturally and effortlessly. For in this choice lies your freedom. In this choice lies your power. In this choice lies the key to creating the life you truly desire. And as we come to the close of our talk this evening, I want to leave you with one final thought. The principle we've discussed, don't force anything, is not just a technique for manifesting your desires. It is a way of life, a state of being that aligns you with the very rhythm of the universe. When you cease to force, when you learn to allow, you open yourself to the infinite intelligence that pervades all things. You become a channel through which the divine can express itself in the world. And in this state of allowance, of surrender to your highest self, you will find a peace and a joy that no outer circumstance can shake. You will move through life with grace and ease, knowing that all is well, that all is unfolding perfectly according to the divine pattern within you. So go forth, my dear friends, and apply what you have learned. Let go of force. Embrace the art of allowing and watch as miracles unfold in your life. For you are the miracle, you are the power, you are the divine made manifest. Thank you, and may God bless you all.
The great secret I wish to impart to you tonight concerns that mystical state between wakefulness and slumber. That precious interval when your conscious, reasoning mind begins to slip away and you enter the realm of the subconscious, the realm where all creation begins. It is in this drowsy, receptive state that you can plant the seed of your desire with the greatest effectiveness. For in this state, your conscious mind's resistance is at its lowest. Now, Let me make this perfectly clear. When I speak of asking the universe, I am not suggesting that you plead with some external deity or force. The universe I speak of is not separate from you. It is you, in your truest essence. Your wonderful human imagination is God in action, and when you enter that state akin to sleep, you are entering the realm where this divine aspect of yourself operates with unfettered power. Consider for a moment the words of Scripture. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon men, in slumberings upon the bed, then he openeth the ears of men, and sealeth their instruction. This is not mere poetry. It is a profound truth about the nature of consciousness and creation. The sleep state is when the deepest impressions are made upon our subconscious mind, which then proceeds to externalize these impressions in our three-dimensional world. I have tested this principle countless times, both in my own life and in the lives of those who have applied my teachings. The results are invariably the same. What you impress upon your subconscious mind as you drift into sleep will, with mathematical precision, objectify itself in your world. This is not magic. It is the law of consciousness. Let me illustrate this with a personal experience. Many years ago, I desired to travel to Barbados to see my family. However, I had no money for passage, and there seemed to be no logical way that such a journey could be undertaken. Rather than dwelling on the seeming impossibility of my desire, I began to practice what I am sharing with you tonight. As I lay in my bed each night, approaching that boundary between wakefulness and sleep, I would imagine that I was already in Barbados. I would feel the tropical warmth on my skin. I would hear the distinct accent of the islanders. I would feel the embraces of my family members. I would smell the unique fragrances of my island home. In short, I would live in my imagination, as though I were already experiencing what I desired to experience. I did not question how this would come to pass. I did not concern myself with the means. I simply lived in my imagination from the end being the fulfillment of my desire. And then I would drift into sleep, carrying this feeling of fulfillment with me. Within a matter of weeks, against all odds and through a series of events that no one could have predicted, I received not only the funds for passage, but a first-class ticket to Barbados. The outer circumstances rearranged themselves to conform to my inner assumption. This is the principle I want you to grasp tonight, the feeling of the wish fulfilled, impressed upon your subconscious mind as you fall asleep, must objectify itself in your external world. This is not a matter of hope or positive thinking. It is a matter of law. You see, your subconscious mind accepts as true whatever you impress upon it in that drowsy state before sleep. It does not question, it does not argue. It simply accepts and then proceeds to bring about the conditions and events that correspond to that impression. Your subconscious mind is the fertile soil in which the seeds of your imagination take root and grow into the flowers of objective reality. Now let me be very specific about the technique itself. Tonight, when you retire to your bed, decide exactly what it is that you want to manifest in your life. It could be anything: a specific sum of money, a new home, a relationship, perfect health, a particular job or position. The nature of the desire is not important. What is important is the clarity with which you define it. Once you have decided upon your desire, construct in your mind's eye a scene which would imply that your desire has already been fulfilled. If it is wealth you seek, perhaps you would imagine yourself looking at a bank statement showing your desired balance. If it is health, you might imagine a doctor congratulating you on your perfect health. If it is a relationship, you could imagine yourself in a tender moment with your beloved. The scene you choose should be one that would naturally occur after your desire has been fulfilled. It should be brief, for the human mind cannot concentrate for long on a single image without wavering, and it should be as detailed and as sensory rich as you can make it. Now, as you lie in your bed, begin to relax your body completely. Start with your feet and work upward, consciously releasing tension from each part of your body. Take slow, deep breaths. Feel yourself becoming heavier and more peaceful with each exhalation. As your body relaxes, bring your chosen scene to mind. Enter into it as though you were entering a real physical environment. See the colors, hear the sounds, feel the textures, smell the scents that would be present. And most importantly, feel the emotions you would feel if this scene were actually occurring right now. The feeling is the secret. You must feel as though your desire is already fulfilled. This feeling, this conviction of the reality of your imagined scene is what impresses your subconscious mind and sets in motion the chain of events that will lead to the objectification of your desire. As you continue to immerse yourself in this scene, feeling the reality of it, you will gradually drift towards sleep. Do not fight this drift. Welcome it. For as you cross the threshold into sleep with your imagined scene still vivid in your consciousness, you are planting the seed of your desire in the most fertile soil possible. And then, having done this, let go. Do not wake in the morning and immediately begin to question when or how your desire will manifest. Such questioning implies doubt. And doubt is the enemy of manifestation. Instead, carry with you throughout your day the quiet conviction that you have imagined is now in the process of becoming a reality. You need not repeat this exercise indefinitely. A seed properly planted will grow of its own accord. In the same way, an impression properly made upon the subconscious mind will externalize itself without further effort on your part. Though if it brings you joy to repeat the exercise, by all means do so. Remember, the law of consciousness operates with perfect precision. Just as a farmer who plants corn can rest assured that corn, not wheat, will grow, so can you rest assured that the seed of your desire, properly planted in the fertile soil of subconscious mind, will grow into the harvest of your desire fulfilled? I have seen this principle work wonders in the lives of countless individuals. I have seen those who were destitute become wealthy, those who were ill become healthy, those who were lonely find love, and those who were failures become successes. In every case, the principle was the same. They impressed upon their subconscious minds, in the drowsy state before sleep, the feeling of their wishes fulfilled. Let me share another experience that illustrates this principle. A woman who attended my lectures was in a difficult marriage. Her husband was emotionally distant, critical, and unloving. Rather than focusing on his flaws, which would only perpetuate her undesirable situation, she decided to apply the principle I am sharing with you tonight. Each night, as she prepared for sleep, she would imagine a scene in which her husband was expressing love and appreciation for her. She would feel his arms around her, hear his loving words, and experience the joy of being in a harmonious relationship. Within a matter of weeks, her husband's attitude began to change. He became more attentive, more loving, more the man she had imagined him to be. Was it her husband who changed? Or was it her concept of her husband? I tell you, it was her concept. For everyone in your world is yourself pushed out. This brings me to another crucial aspect of this principle. You must take full responsibility for your life experience. If there are aspects of your life that you find unsatisfactory, know that they are the outpicturing of your own states of consciousness. Change the state of consciousness, and you change the outer manifestation. This is why it is so vital to be vigilant about what you allow to occupy your mind as you drift into sleep. If you fall asleep rehearsing your problems, reliving unpleasant experiences, or entertaining fears about the future, you are in effect asking the universe to give you more of the same. Your subconscious mind does not judge whether what you impress upon it is desirable or undesirable. It simply accepts and manifests. Therefore, regardless of how challenging your current circumstances may be, discipline yourself to enter the sleep state from a position of power and positivity. Imagine the best, feel the best, and that is what you will manifest. Now, some of you may be wondering, but what if I fall asleep before I complete my imaginal scene? Do not be concerned. Even a brief impression, if felt with intensity and conviction, is sufficient to impregnate the subconscious mind. In fact, falling asleep in the midst of your imaginal act is ideal, for it means that you have carried your impression across the threshold into the realm of the subconscious. Others may ask, how long will it take for my desire to manifest? This I cannot tell you, for time is a construct of the conscious mind, not the subconscious. Some desires manifest almost immediately, while others may take weeks, months, or even years. The important thing is to maintain your faith in the reality of your imaginal act and to live from the assumption that what you have imagined is now in the process of becoming a reality. I must also address another common concern. What if I have conflicting desires? This is indeed a challenging situation, for the subconscious mind, being impersonal, will faithfully manifest whatever is impressed upon it. If you impress conflicting desires, you will experience conflicting results, or possibly no results at all, as the opposing forces neutralize each other. Therefore, it is important to clarify your desires to ensure that they are in harmony with one another, and to focus on one primary desire. As that desire manifests, you can then turn your attention to the next. Let me also caution you against using this principle to manipulate or control others against their will. While it is true that everyone in your world is yourself pushed out, and you can therefore influence how others appear to you by changing your concept of them, it is not wise to use this principle with the specific intention of making others do your bidding. Instead, focus on the essence of what you desire, the feeling of being loved, of being respected, of being successful, of being healthy, and allow the universe to orchestrate the means by which these feelings are delivered to you. The universe, being infinite in potential, will often surprise you with manifestations far more wonderful than your limited conscious mind could have conceived. Now, let me address a question that often arises. What about collective events or circumstances that affect many people, such as economic conditions, natural disasters, or political situations? Can my individual consciousness override these collective manifestations? The answer, paradoxically, is both yes and no. Collective events are the outpicturing of collective consciousness, the sum total of all individual consciousnesses participating in that reality. As an individual, you may not be able to completely override a powerful collective manifestation. However, you can certainly determine how that manifestation affects you personally. For instance, during an economic downturn, while many may experience financial hardship, others continue to prosper. During a pandemic, while many may fall ill, others remain perfectly healthy. The difference lies in their states of consciousness, in the assumptions they hold about themselves and their relationship to the collective event. So regardless of what may be happening in the world at large, you have the power to determine your own experience by controlling the state of consciousness from which you view and interact with the world. And the most effective time to establish that state of consciousness is as you drift into sleep. I want to emphasize that this principle is not opposed to taking physical action toward your goals. Action is an important part of manifestation. However, the action must come from the right state of consciousness. Action taken from a state of lack, fear, or doubt will not produce the same results as action taken from a state of confidence, abundance, and faith. The proper sequence is: first, establish the state of consciousness through your imaginal work before sleep. Then, during your waking hours, take whatever actions you are inspired to take from that state of consciousness. These actions will feel natural and effortless, and they will be far more effective than actions forced from a state of anxiety or desperation. Let me illustrate this with another example. A man who attended my lectures desired a promotion at his company. Instead of anxiously striving and strategizing, he began to use the technique I am sharing with you tonight. Each night, as he prepared for sleep, he would imagine his colleagues congratulating him on his promotion. He would feel the handshakes, hear the congratulatory words, experience the pride and satisfaction of having achieved his goal. Within a few weeks, he found himself naturally taking actions at work that showcased his abilities and value to the company. He was more confident, more innovative, more engaged. And yes, he received the promotion he desired. But the crucial point is this: his actions flowed naturally from his changed state of consciousness. He did not have to force them. Now, I want to address a deeper aspect of this principle. Thus far, I have spoken primarily about manifesting specific desires, specific objects, conditions, or circumstances. And while there is nothing wrong with such manifestations, I would be remiss if I did not point you toward an even higher application of this principle. Beyond the manifestation of specific things lies the manifestation of states of being. States such as peace, joy, love, abundance, and fulfillment These states are not dependent on external circumstances. They are inherent qualities of your true self, your divine nature. When you use your pre-sleep period to enter into these states, regardless of your external circumstances, you are aligning with your true nature. And from this alignment flows a life of authentic happiness and fulfillment. Consider this. Many people achieve their specific desires only to find that the happiness they expected to accompany these achievements is fleeting at best. This is because they have not addressed their fundamental state of being. They have changed their outer world without changing their inner world. Therefore, I encourage you to use your pre-sleep period not only to imagine specific desires fulfilled, but also to cultivate states of being that are inherently fulfilling. Imagine yourself feeling utterly at peace, completely loved, infinitely abundant. These states, once established, will not only bring you immediate joy, but will also attract into your life the precise people, circumstances, and events that resonate with these states. Let me share a profound truth. The universe does not give you what you want. It gives you what you are. Your external reality is a precise mirror of your internal state. Therefore, the most powerful way to change your external reality is to change your internal state, to change what you are. And the most effective time to make this change is in the drowsy, receptive state before sleep. In this state, you can bypass the critical faculty of your conscious mind and impress your new state directly upon your subconscious mind, which then proceeds to express this state in your outer world. I have observed that many people struggle with maintaining their imaginal scenes as they approach sleep. Their minds wander, or they fall asleep before they can fully immerse themselves in their scenes. If you experience this challenge, do not be discouraged. Like any skill, this one improves with practice. Begin by selecting a scene that truly excites you, that captures your interest and emotion. It is easier to concentrate on something that genuinely moves you than on something that leaves you indifferent. Also, if your mind wanders, gently bring it back to your scene without self-criticism. Each time you do this, you strengthen your ability to concentrate. Over time, you will find that you can maintain your imaginal scenes with greater ease and for longer periods. Another helpful practice is to spend a few minutes during your day imagining your scene. This familiarizes your mind with the scene, making it easier to recall and maintain as you drift towards sleep. Remember, the key is not perfect concentration, but rather the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Even a brief moment of genuinely feeling as though your desire is already a reality can be sufficient to impress your conscious mind. Now, I want to share with you a refinement of this technique that many have found extremely effective. As you lie in bed, preparing for sleep, begin by expressing gratitude for all that you already have. This establishes a state of abundance and receptivity, making your subconscious mind more open to the impression of your desire. Then, rather than merely visualizing your scene, actually feel yourself physically performing the actions within the scene. If your scene involves shaking hands with someone congratulating you on your success, feel your hand in theirs. If it involves walking through your new home, feel your feet making contact with the floor. This physical dimension adds a layer of reality to your imaginal act that powerfully impresses your subconscious mind. And as you immerse yourself in your scene, pay particular attention to the emotions you would feel if your desire were already fulfilled. Emotion is the propulsive force behind manifestation. A scene felt with intense emotion will manifest far more quickly and precisely than one merely visualized without emotional content. Let me emphasize once more. The feeling is the secret. When you can genuinely feel the reality or imagined scene, when you can live within that scene as though it were physically present, you have mastered the art of manifestation. I have sometimes been asked, is there anything I should avoid as I drift into sleep? Yes, there are certain mental states that are counterproductive for manifestation. Avoid falling asleep in a state of worry, anger, fear, or resentment. These states just of joy, confidence, and gratitude will be impressed upon your subconscious mind and will manifest in your outer world. If you find yourself in a negative state as you prepare for sleep, take a few moments to shift your focus. You might recall a happy memory, contemplate something you appreciate, or simply focus on the rhythm of your breath. Any of these can help you transition from a negative to a neutral or positive state. I want to address another question that often arises: what about manifesting for others? Can I use this technique to help someone else? The answer is yes, but with an important qualification. When you imagine something for another person, you are not actually changing them. You are changing your concept of them. And since everyone in your world is yourself, pushed out a reflection of your own states of consciousness, changing your concept of someone will indeed result in them appearing differently to you. However, this does not override their free will. What you are doing is creating a version of them in your reality that aligns with your new concept. Whether they choose to embody that version in their own separate reality is up to them. So yes, you can imagine wonderful things for others, and you will indeed see those wonderful things manifest in your experience of them. But approach this with respect for their autonomy, holding the intention that your imaginal act serves their highest good. Now let me share with you an observation that may assist you in maintaining faith in this principle, even when outer circumstances seem to contradict your inner assumption. Manifestation often unfolds through what I call the bridge of incidents, a series of seemingly unrelated events that, in retrospect, can be seen as the perfect pathway to the fulfillment of your desire. During this bridge of incidents, it may sometimes appear as though things are moving in the opposite direction of your desire. An opportunity may fall through, a relationship may end, a project may fail. In such moments, it is crucial to maintain your faith in the reality of your imaginal act. These apparent setbacks are often the universe rearranging itself to deliver your desire in a way that your limited conscious mind could not have conceived. The job opportunity that falls through makes way for a far better one. The relationship that ends creates space for your ideal partner. The project that fails leads to a more innovative and successful approach. This is why blind faith maintained despite contradictory evidence is so powerful in manifestation. When you can hold steadfastly to the feeling of your wish fulfilled, regardless of outer appearances, you allow the bridge of incidents to unfold without interference from your doubts and fears. I encourage you to view the manifestation process as an adventure, a journey of discovery. Embrace the unexpected turns, trust the process, and know that every event, no matter how it appears in the moment, is leading you toward the fulfillment of your desire. Let me also address the concept of timing in manifestation. Many become discouraged when their desires do not manifest according to their preferred timeline. They wonder if they have done something wrong or if the principle itself is flawed. I assure you the principle is infallible. If you have genuinely impressed your subconscious mind with the feeling of your wish fulfilled, manifestation is inevitable. The timing, however, is not always within your conscious control. Your desire will manifest when all the necessary elements have aligned, when the bridge of incidents has been completed. This timing is determined by factors beyond your conscious awareness. The intricate web of relationships between all the people, circumstances, and events involved in your manifestation. Therefore, rather than fixating on when your desire will manifest, focus on maintaining the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Live each day from the assumption that what you desire is already yours. In this way, you align yourself with the natural flow of manifestation, neither rushing it nor impeding it with your anxieties. I have observed that desires often manifest in what I call the Sabbath state of complete rest from your desire. This occurs when you have so thoroughly convinced yourself of the reality of your desire that you no longer feel any anxiety or urgency about it. You simply know that it is yours. And this knowing is so complete that the desire itself fades from your conscious attention. In this state of rest, of Sabbath, manifestation often occurs with breathtaking speed and precision. So if you find that your desire has faded from your conscious thoughts, do not be concerned. This may well be the Sabbath that precedes manifestation. As we approach the conclusion of our discussion, I want to emphasize once more the fundamental principle at work here. Consciousness is the only reality, and your consciousness is the operant power in your world. What you assume to be true, what you feel to be real, will inevitably manifest in your outer experience. The drowsy state before sleep offers a unique opportunity to impress new assumptions upon your subconscious mind. In this state, when your conscious reasoning mind is at its least resistant, you can plant the seeds of your desires with extraordinary effectiveness. But remember, this principle is not limited to the pre-sleep state. It operates in every moment of your existence. Every state of consciousness that you occupy, whether in wakefulness or in sleep, is contributing to the creation of your reality. Therefore, I encourage you to be mindful of your states of consciousness throughout your state day. Are you dwelling in states of lack, fear, or resentment? Or are you dwelling in states of abundance, love? Whatever state you occupy will, with mathematical precision, be reflected in your outer experience. And when you retire to your bed each night, use that precious interval between wakefulness and sleep to deliberately enter a state that aligns with your desires. Feel as though what you want is already yours. Fall asleep in the conviction of its reality, and watch as the universe rearranges itself to accommodate your new state of consciousness. I tell you with absolute certainty, master this principle, and you will master your life. For when you understand and apply the law of consciousness, when you recognize your imagination as the creative power that it is, you become the deliberate creator of your own destiny. So tonight, as you prepare for sleep, decide what it is that you truly desire. Construct a scene that implies the fulfillment of that desire. Enter into that scene feeling its reality with all your senses. Fall asleep in the consciousness of your wish fulfilled. And know with unwavering faith that what you have imagined is now in the process of becoming your physical reality. For this is the true meaning of the scripture. Whatsoever ye shall ask in prayer, believing ye shall receive. Your imagination is the prayer. Your feeling is the belief. And your outer world is the receipt. Go now and create consciously. Go now and manifest deliberately. Go now and live the life you desire, for all things are possible to him who believes. Remember, the universe does not respond to your words or your wishes. It responds to your consciousness, to your state of being. And the state of being you enter as you drift into sleep is the most powerful of all. Tonight, ask the universe for what you desire by entering the state of consciousness that would be yours if your desire were already fulfilled. Feel it, live it, be it. And then release it to the unfailing law of consciousness, knowing that what you have planted in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind must, by law, grow into the harvest of your desire fulfilled. This is the way. This is the truth. This is the life. The universe, this vast intelligent power that surrounds us, that lives in us, that is us, does not respond to your wants. And yet, this is the most liberating truth you will ever encounter, for it unveils the actual law by which your world is shaped, the fallacy of wanting. But Neville, you might say, I have been taught that I must want things intensely to attract them. This, my dear friends, is the first illusion we must dispel. Wanting by its very nature is an admission of lack. When you say, I want, you are declaring to the universe, I do not have. And the universe, being the perfect mirror of consciousness, reflects back precisely this state of not having. Consider for a moment what the word want truly implies. To want is to be without. It is to stand in a state of absence, looking outward at something you do not possess. And as you stand firmly in this consciousness of absence, the law being no respecter of persons, but only of states, must continue to deliver experiences that match this consciousness of lack. I knew a man in New York who for years proclaimed his desire for financial abundance. Daily he affirmed, I want wealth. I want to be free of debt. Yet year after year, his financial situation deteriorated. One day, in desperation, he came to me, and I shared with him what I now share with you. The universe was not failing him. It was responding with perfect precision to his consciousness of wanting, of absence, of lack. The state to which the universe responds. If the universe does not respond to want, to what does it respond? It responds unfailingly to your state of being, to what you are claiming yourself to be in the depths of your consciousness. The universe does not care what you want. It only cares what you are. Every moment of your existence, you occupy a state. These states are countless. But at this very moment, You are in a state. It may be a state of health or illness, wealth or poverty, love or loneliness. And the universe, with mathematical precision, delivers experiences that correspond to this state. I am, these two words, are the most powerful in all of existence. Whatever follows I am shapes your reality. When you declare I am sick, the universe does not analyze whether you desire this sickness. It simply reflects back experiences that match this declaration. When you declare I am wealthy, even if your bank account appears empty, you are shifting into a state to which the universe must respond. What many fail to realize is that you need not wait for external evidence to claim a new state of being. In fact, the evidence will only follow your prior assumption. As I have told you time and again, imagination creates reality. But it is not what you imagine as something distant or separate from yourself. It is what you imagine yourself to be. The feeling I ask the secret. My beloved audience, here we approach the heart of the matter. The universe responds not to your thoughts, not to your words, not even to your occasional declarations. It responds to your consistent feeling, your emotional state, the mood that permeates your being. Feelings are the language of the soul. They are the true communication between you and the divine power that shapes your world. When you feel wealthy, you are wealthy in consciousness, and the universe must respond to this state. When you feel loved, you are loved in consciousness, and your world reshapes itself to reflect this truth. I recall a young woman who attended my lectures in Los Angeles. For years, she had been seeking a loving relationship, moving from one disappointing encounter to another. I want to be loved, she would say with tears in her eyes. And yet day after day, she walked through the world carrying a feeling of being unloved, unwanted. I instructed her to cease her wanting and instead to assume the feeling of being deeply loved. Before you sleep tonight, I told her, feel the warmth of loving arms around you. Feel the absolute certainty that you are cherished beyond measure. She followed this instruction not once, but night after night. Within a month, her entire demeanor had changed. She no longer moved through the world as one seeking love, but as one who knew herself to be loved. And as is always the case, when one assumes a new state, her external reality rearranged itself to match her inner knowing. The loving relationship she had sought appeared in her life, seemingly by chance, yet perfectly aligned with the law, living from the end. If the universe responds to your state of being, then the great secret of manifestation is to assume the state of your wish fulfilled. This is what I mean when I speak of living from the end. When you live from the end, you are not looking toward a desired future. You are experiencing it as present fact in your imagination. And imagination, when coupled with feeling, is the very substance of reality and formation. Consider this: every invention, every building, every work of art first existed in someone's imagination before it was made manifest in the physical world. The Wright brothers imagined human flight before they created the first airplane. Michelangelo saw David within the marble before his chisel touched the stone. In the same way, the life you desire already exists in potential, awaiting your assumption of its reality and consciousness. The universe does not need to create it anew. It needs only to move the existing pieces of your life to match your inner conviction. I knew a physician who dreamed of opening a clinic to serve those who could not afford medical care. For years he said, I want to open my clinic, yet he remained in his conventional practice. When he came to understand the principle I am sharing with you tonight, he began to assume the state of already running his dream clinic. Each night before sleep, he would imagine walking through the doors of his clinic. He would feel the satisfaction of treating patients regardless of their ability to pay. He would hear their words of gratitude. He would experience the fulfillment of his life's purpose not as a future event, but as a present reality. Within 6 months, A series of seemingly unrelated events led to the fulfillment of this dream. A building became available in precisely the location he had imagined. Funding appeared from unexpected sources. Medical supplies were donated by a company that was upgrading its equipment. The universe did not respond to his years of wanting. It responded immediately when he assumed the state of already being what he desired to be. The LAYS impersonal. My friends, I must emphasize that the law of which I speak is entirely impersonal. It does not judge whether your desires are noble or ignoble, spiritual or material. It simply responds to the state you occupy. This is why you will find both saints and criminals who understand the law and use it effectively. The saint assumes the state of communion with God and experiences divine revelations. The criminal assumes the state of successful theft and finds opportunities for ill-gotten gain. The law itself is neutral. It is the consciousness of the individual that determines how the law will operate in their personal experience. I am not suggesting that you use this knowledge for questionable purposes. I am merely illustrating that the universe does not make moral judgments about your desires. It simply reflects back to you the state you have chosen to occupy. This understanding should free you from any lingering belief that you must somehow be worthy of your desires. The only worthiness required is your willingness to assume the state of the wish fulfilled. The universe does not respond to your worthiness. It responds to your consciousness. The Sabbath, resting on the assumption, having recognized that the universe responds not to your wanting, but to your state of being, the question naturally arises, how do we maintain the desired state long enough for it to become our physical reality? The answer lies in what the ancient scriptures call the Sabbath. The Sabbath is not merely a day of the week. It is a state of consciousness. It is that moment when you rest from your labors, knowing that what you have been seeking is already yours in consciousness. When God completed the work of creation, he rested knowing it was finished. In the same way, once you have assumed the state of your wish fulfilled, you must rest in that assumption, knowing that the work is complete on the level of consciousness and its physical manifestation is assured. This rest is not inactivity. You will still go about your daily tasks, but you will do so from a new state of being, carrying within you the quiet confidence that what you have assumed in consciousness must, by law, become your physical experience. I have often told the story of a man who desired a promotion in his company. For months he had been passed over despite his qualifications. When he learned this principle, he began to assume the feeling of already occupying the new position. He mentally heard the congratulations of his colleagues. He felt the satisfaction of the increased responsibility and compensation. Having assumed this state, he then rested in his assumption. He did not anxiously check for signs of his promotion. He did not repeatedly discuss his desire with colleagues. He simply knew with unshakable conviction that in consciousness, the promotion was already his. 2 weeks later, he was called into his superior's office and informed that due to a reorganization of the company, a new position had been created, one that perfectly matched his skills and offered even greater advancement than he had imagined. The universe had responded not to his wanting, but to his being, the creative power of revision. There are times, my dear friends, when despite our best efforts, we find ourselves entrenched in undesirable states. Perhaps we have been living with the consciousness of illness, financial struggle, or strained relationships for so long that it seems impossible to assume a new state. In such moments, we can employ the powerful technique of revision. Revision is the art of reimagining past events to align with our desired state of being. It is not mere wishful thinking or denial of reality. It is a conscious restructuring of our relationship to our past. Consider that what we call the past exists only in our memory. And memory is not fixed, it is fluid, subject to constant reinterpretation. By revising our memories, we alter the foundations upon which our current state rests. I recall a woman who had experienced a bitter argument with her sister, leading to years of estrangement. The memory of that argument poisoned her thoughts and kept her in a state of resentment and loss. When she learned the principle of revision, she began each night to reimagine that pivotal conversation. In her imagination, she replaced harsh words with expressions of understanding. She felt the warmth of reconciliation instead of the cold of rejection. Night after night, she revised this memory until the new version felt more real to her than the original experience. Within a month, she received a letter from her sister expressing a desire to heal their relationship. The universe responded not to the historical facts, but to the woman's revised state of consciousness. The power of your assumptions. My friends, let us delve deeper into what truly shapes your reality. Your assumptions, even those of which you are not consciously aware, are constantly being projected into your experience. These assumptions are not merely thoughts. They are the deeply held convictions about yourself and the world that color your perception and draw corresponding experiences to you. Many go through life never examining their core assumptions. They assume life is difficult, people are untrustworthy, success is for the lucky few, or love is fleeting. And as they cling to these assumptions, the law faithfully delivers experiences that confirm them. I knew a businessman who, despite his intelligence and work ethic, repeatedly found himself in failed ventures. When we examined his assumptions, we discovered that deep within his consciousness lay the conviction that success requires struggle, and anything easily gained is not truly valuable. With this understanding, is it any wonder that the universe presented him with one struggle after another? He was not experiencing these difficulties because the universe was indifferent to his desires. He was experiencing them because the universe was responding perfectly to his assumptions about the nature of success. Once he recognized these hidden assumptions, he began the work of deliberately assuming their opposites. Success flows to me with ease, he would affirm before sleep. My prosperity benefits everyone it touches. As he persisted in these new assumptions, his external circumstances gradually transformed to match his inner canvas. The imaginal ACT. How then do we effectively transition from our current state to the desired state? Through what I call the imaginal act, a deliberate exercise of consciousness in which we temporarily set aside physical reality and immerse ourselves in the reality we wish to experience. The imaginal act is not daydreaming or idle fantasy. It is a controlled, purposeful use of imagination to create a sensory-rich experience of your wish fulfilled. During the imaginal act, you temporarily close the door on the world of the senses and open yourself to the world of infinite possibilities. For this exercise to be effective, it must include sensory detail. If you desire a new home, you must not merely see it, you must feel the doorknob in your hand, hear your footsteps on the floor, smell the freshness of the air, touch the texture of the walls. You must occupy the scene as if it were physically present. The power of the imaginal act lies not in its duration, but in its intensity. A single moment of complete immersion in the feeling of the wish fulfilled can be more effective than hours of half-hearted visualization. The key is to achieve what I call the feeling of reality. That moment when your imaginative experience feels as solid and substantial as any physical experience. I taught this principle to a young artist who had struggled for years to have his work recognized. Each night he would engage in an imaginal act in which he stood in a gallery surrounded by his paintings. He would hear specific words of appreciation from attendees. He would feel the quiet satisfaction of artistic recognition. Within 3 months, he was invited to participate in a group exhibition at a prestigious gallery, the very recognition he had been imagining. The universe responded not to his years of wanting recognition, but to his assumption of already having received it. The law of identical harvest. There exists a principle articulated in various spiritual traditions that you reap what you sow. I prefer to think of this as the law of identical harvest. Whatever you plant in consciousness through your consistent assumptions, feelings, and imaginal acts must eventually flower into corresponding external experiences. This law operates with mathematical precision. If you plant corn, you cannot harvest wheat. If you plant assumptions of lack, you cannot harvest abundance. If you plant feelings of unworthiness, you cannot harvest experiences of being valued and appreciated. Many misunderstand this principle, believing that if they think positive thoughts occasionally while maintaining a consciousness of limitation, they will somehow reap positive results. But occasional thoughts have little power against the deeply rooted assumptions that govern your basic sense of identity and possibility. It is not what you think about occasionally, but what you consistently assume yourself to be that creates your reality. Your harvest will always be identical in kind to the seeds you have planted in consciousness. I recall a teacher who came to me in despair over her classroom of unruly students. I want them to be respectful and engaged, she said. Yet each day she walked into her classroom assuming conflict and resistance. Her consciousness was filled with seeds of classroom struggle. I instructed her to plant new seeds to assume that her students were capable, interested, and naturally inclined toward order. Before each class, she would imagine the feeling of teaching engaged, respectful students. She would feel the satisfaction of meaningful educational exchange. Within weeks, the atmosphere in her classroom transformed. The universe responded not to her wanting better behavior from her students, but to her assumption of already experiencing ideal classroom interactions. Persistence until naturalness. My dear friends, the transition from one state to another is rarely instantaneous in its physical manifestation. While the shift in consciousness can occur in a moment, the reorganization of your external circumstances typically unfolds over time. The key to successful manifestation is persistence, not the strained persistence of forcing yourself to believe something against all evidence, but the natural persistence that comes from knowing the law and trusting its operation. When you first assume a new state, it may feel artificial, like wearing clothes that don't quite fit. But with consistent attention to maintaining this state in consciousness, it eventually becomes your natural self-concept. When this naturalness is achieved, the manifestation of your desire is assured. I have observed that many abandon their imaginal work too soon. They assume the state of the wish fulfilled for a few days, see no immediate physical evidence, and conclude that the principle is not working. What they fail to realize is that manifestation follows a natural gestation period. Just as a seed planted in soil requires time to sprout and grow. There was a salesman who dreamed of doubling his income. Following these principles, he assumed the state of already earning his desired amount. For weeks, he maintained this assumption without seeing any change in his commission checks. Lesser men might have abandoned the practice, but he persisted. In the 9th week, he was offered a position managing a team of salespeople, a role that more than doubled his income. The universe had been responding to his assumption all along, rearranging circumstances in ways he could not have anticipated to deliver the essence of his desire. The distinction between wishing and assuming. As we near the conclusion of our discussion, I must emphasize the crucial distinction between wishing for something and assuming it as fact in consciousness. This distinction marks the difference between those who use the law successfully and those who remain perpetually disappointed. Wishing places your desire in an imaginary future that never arrives. It maintains the separation between you and your desire. Someday, the wisher says, I will have what I want. And in this declaration, they ensure that their desire remains forever distant. Assuming, by contrast, collapses time, it brings your desire into the present moment as a completed fact. I am now what I desire to be, declares the one who assumes. And in this declaration, they unite with their desire, becoming in consciousness what they seek to be in experience. The universe does not respond to your wishes, it responds to your assumptions. It does not deliver what you want, it delivers what you are. The great secret then is to assume yourself to be what you seek, and from this assumption to live and act as though it were already so. I knew a woman who wished to reconcile with her estranged son. For years she had tried to re-establish contact, sending letters and messages that went. When she learned these principles, she ceased her external efforts and focused on assuming the state of already having a loving relationship with her son. Each night before sleep, she would imagine a scene that implied their reconciliation. She would feel the joy of their restored connection. She would hear his voice expressing love and forgiveness. She persisted in this practice, transferring her energy from wishing for a future reconciliation to experiencing a present harmony. Within 2 months, she received a phone call from her son, the first in over 3 years. The conversation led to a meeting, which led to the healing of their relationship. The universe responded not to her wanting reconciliation, but to her assumption of it as an accomplished fact, living in a state of abundance. My friends, as we bring this discussion to a close, I want to address the most common desire expressed by those who attend my lectures, the desire for greater abundance, prosperity, and financial freedom. Many approach this desire from a consciousness of lack. They see money as something outside themselves that they must struggle to acquire. They believe there is a limited supply of wealth, and they must compete with others to secure their portion. And as they maintain this consciousness, the universe faithfully delivers experiences of financial struggle and limitation. The truth is that abundance is not something you obtain, it is a state you occupy. When you live in the state of abundance, you experience yourself as connected to the infinite supply of the universe. You know with unshakable conviction that all your needs are met, not from a limited external source, but from the limitless source within. From this state, you take actions not from desperation, but from inspiration. You make decisions not from fear, but from a sense of security and possibility. And as you live from this state, the universe rearranges itself to reflect your consciousness of plenty. I recall a woman who had lived for years with financial anxiety, constantly worrying about paying her bills. When she learned these principles, she began to live from the state of abundance. Each night she would fall asleep feeling the relief and gratitude of having more than enough. During the day, she would walk through the world carrying this feeling of abundance, regardless of her bank balance. Within 3 months, opportunities for increased income appeared in her life. A skill she had developed as a hobby became the foundation for a profitable business. An investment she had made years earlier suddenly increased in value. The universe responded not to her wanting abundance, but to her being abundant in consciousness. The final word, faith in the Allah. We have covered much ground tonight, exploring the profound truth that the universe responds not to your wants, but to your state of being. As we conclude, I wish to leave you with a final thought on the role of faith in the application of this law. Faith in the context of manifestation is not blind belief in something for which there is no evidence. It is the conviction born of understanding that the law operates with mathematical precision. It is the certainty that when you assume a state in consciousness, the universe must deliver experiences that match that state. This faith is not something you must struggle to attain. It arises naturally from an intellectual and experiential understanding of the law. The more you observe the law in operation in your own life, the stronger your faith becomes until it transforms into knowing. Begin tonight to practice what you have learned. Choose one desire that has thus far eluded you. Rather than wanting it, assume the state of already possessing it. Create an imaginal scene that implies its fulfillment. Feel the reality of this scene. Fall asleep in this state. Maintain this assumption during your waking hours, and watch as the universe, with perfect fidelity, reshapes your external world to match your inner conviction. Remember always, the universe doesn't care what you want, it cares what you are. Assume yourself to be what you seek, and by law you must become it in experience. My dear friends, it has been my honor to share these principles with you tonight. May you use them wisely to create a life of fulfillment, joy, and service to your fellow man. For in the end, the greatest use of this law is not merely to acquire possessions, but to become the fullest expression of your dying potential. Go now in the confidence that the power that shapes worlds lies within you, responding always to your consciousness. The universe awaits your command, delivered not through wanting, not through pleading, but through the quiet assumption of already being what you desire to be.